Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a track guide around Belgium and yeah, let's jump straight into it. I have to use two separate clips because I don't really have much, annoyingly I don't have much footage on Belgium for some reason on my computer because I basically look into my folder, save laps, try and find what I've got, invalid or valid. Some tracks I've got good PBs like saved. Some tracks I don't even have my PBs saved. A bit of a mess, I know. So apologies for that, but I've still got footage for you guys that I can talk over and give you guys a decent track guide out of. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let's jump straight into it. So here we are, starting the lap. We always play the lap through first, so heading into turn one. Beautiful rotation through there and getting a nice exit on the way out. Now, I'm going to have to jump to another clip if you can bear with me. I know it's a bit awkward, but it's because the reason I have to use two clips is because this clip starts partway through turn one, which is incredibly frustrating, I must say. But anyway, all that rubbish aside, let's get into it. So, we've negotiated turn one, and then at this section in the dry, this Eau Rouge complex is completely flat. It's not even like, it's basically like a nothing corner. So in the wet, it's a little bit trickier, put it that way. But yeah, heading now to the end of the Camel Straight, using all the curb on the outside, trying not to unsettle the car, but we still get a bit way over rotate the car, a little bit on the exit of the Les Combes chicane. Getting the car really nicely tucked in actually for this section. Short shift to fifth, keeping the car rotating up to sixth gear, using all the road. I mean, we actually got an invalidation for that, which still blows my mind when you watch it back. Flying it in, using every millimetre through pull-on. That was really nice through there. And then coming to what I think this is called Piff Path or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. Short shifting to sixth. That was actually quite cheeky, but I mean, we won't even talk about it. Missing the apex there, so not perfect for that corner, but heading now to, yeah, that was, this whole section is now flat out until the chicane, so these corners, again, in the dry are a bit of a nothingness, sorry. And now heading towards the final chicane. Heavy braking just around 100 metre board, holding fourth gear, and then we used way too much of that curb. We'll talk about that later because yeah, that was not actually a very good section. But yeah, there are the sectors. Not a great last sector. Good first, good middle, I think. But yeah, that's just, you know, this is what I have. I don't have perfect footage. I do apologise for it. It does annoy me, trust me. Because I'll either have, you know, a terrible clean lap saved and a good invalid lap by, you know, invalidated by very little, or, you know, many complications. So apologies for the inefficiencies, let's say, but, you know, I'm trying to bring you guys, you know, the important parts of these videos, which is, you know, discussing the actual track guide itself. So jumping back now to, let's do our in-depth analysis now. So turn one, again, so when you start this lap, you coming out of the final chicane, you want to, you know, maximize your speed on the main straight. So you set the last corner up so that you can get, you know, as fast an exit as possible. And then yeah, heading into turn one. Now we're gonna play it through first normally. And yeah, it's a very, very low drama corner. If you get it really right, it looks really easy, albeit it's actually a very tricky corner to perfect. So we've played it through normally once. Now, we opt to actually upshift to 8th very, very briefly, just through complete preference. You can definitely hold, hold it in 7th and, you know, basically either reduce your downshifts. I mean, you can definitely go 3rd in this corner as well. We opted to hold it in 4th. That was, you know, again, a preference thing. That's what I felt, you know, suited this car / setup / whatever better. But you can use 3rd through here. It depends on, you know, a variety of factors. So you're heading into turn one. Now you're braking, thankfully you can keep your eyes here and you've got your references here, so it's pretty good in that regard. You've got the 100 metre board and we start to apply the brake just about, you know, a couple of metres before we get to the 100 metre board. So starting fully on the brakes now as we're approaching past the 100 metres. Now braking in a complete straight line, because it's very, very easy to lock the front right, and sometimes you'll actually lock the front left because you'll drift too far over to the left. It's important to, you know, get your braking done in a straight line for this corner, as it's I mean, that's when the braking's at its most effective anyway. And then we start to appeal in the turn in now, and we start to unwind the brakes now. It's I would say it's probably better to go in a tiny bit too deep than to turn in too early for this corner, because if you turn in too early and get all over this curb, then you're not going to get a good exit, and the exit from turn 1 affects all the way down, you know, Eau Rouge, the Camel Straight. The exit is critical out of this corner, so I would say it's, yeah, you want to be the exit's the priority. So we carry in good speed, and we're just trailing nicely into the apex. We're just minutely trailing into that apex, but you can see the amount of steering lock we actually have as well is, you know, significant, because the circuit actually dips down on the apex, which is yeah, as you can see, it sort of dips down on the apex and then rises back up, and then just as we reach the center point of the corner, we are picking up the throttle again to about, you know, 50, you know, maybe 45%, holding it consistent on 4th gear, and then we're focusing about unwinding the steering, getting on the power, and yeah, just minimizing wheel spin and getting a good exit. Yeah, and we make sure we utilize all of the road on the exit as well, right up to this sausage curb, because this is how we, yeah, maximize the width of the track and get the best possible best possible corner out it. And yeah, that's turn 1. It's a pretty low drama corner if done right. It's not as it's one of those corners that are always harder than it looks, but yeah, if you get it right, it'll look something a bit like this, and we get a really nice exit. So yeah, now we are heading to my other clip where we, you know, do turn 1 in a very, very similar manner. And yeah, heading now down to Eau Rouge. Now, this section in the dry is basically about saving a few thousands or hundredths or something like that. It's literally about saving distance and carrying as much speed through it as possible. In the wet, a bit more hard. So yeah, coming through here, as you can see, I mean, I'm literally using, I mean, I don't even need to really play this through at full speed because it's flat out anyway. And all I'm doing is I'm literally utilising the road as much as possible. As you can see, even at the top, I'm making it as straight as possible just to try and shave a few thousands off, maybe 100th if you're lucky. I mean, it's, yeah, you don't want to be taking, like, I mean, you can see here we're not even all the way out to the right hand side, because we would just be wasting distance. We don't really need to worry about tyre scrub like that on the F1 game, for example, because you don't really lose the speed on the straight line by, you know, scrubbing, unless you're going in like a straight line. If you're yeah, you don't really lose much with like the typical scrub, if that makes sense. So yeah, nice and flat through here. And again, you'll even see through here, I'm just keeping it nice and smooth, just keeping it nice and straight. And yeah, that is a 10th up on our delta. Now, that is the end of sector 1. It's basically one actual corner, because Eau Rouge and Radion are, yeah, again, a nothing corner on the F1 game. Now, start of sector 2, we have the Lacombe chicane. We'll play this complex through first, and then we're going to break it down. So, using all the curb on the outside, not opting to use way too much for the first curb, quite a bit on the second, and then trying to use, yeah, what road we have available for the next bit. So, let's break that bit down, because that's a very, very, very tricky section. So, the minute this curb appears, you want to be peeling yourself over to the left-hand side. Now, you're braking basically right before, if not smack bang on this 50-meter board, depending on the specific lines you want to take. Now, in theory, you can use this whole curb, you can go over it, but I don't really like to use that line, because I prefer to brake a bit later and carry more speed into a sort of traditional line than use this entry bit, because I feel like it's harder to optimize a consistent line by using lots of this inside curb, in my opinion. So this is what my typical line would look like. So braking just before the 50-meter board. Now, I use 5th gear, and again, completely flexible. I've seen people use 6th gear through this complex. That's more time trial related, and time trial is kind of useless for anything to translate to online in many regards. So it's not 100% transferable, but I would say about, yeah, for 5th, you can use 5th or 4th gear. We use 5th gear in this lap. And we do use a little bit of this inside curb because again the front right's a bit unloaded, so we don't really get too much effect from it, so that's okay. Now for this left-hander, you need to use this is a very easy spot to invalidate your lap. This is probably the first major point in the lap where you are fearful of invalidating, because you need to maximize all the way up to the white line on this, and you can see that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, we still actually have a few tiny smidgen left available. So yeah, we're holding fifth gear. Sometimes you can go, you know, fourth and fourth, and or in terms of gears, so fourth and fourth, fifth then fourth. We opt to hold fifth this whole way. And as you can actually see as well, if you watch our throttle and brake trace, we actually throttle brake at the same time. So, you know, keeping the throttle constant to keep, you know, a stable balance, but also using the brake to help rotate the car. We stay in fifth, and we use a lot of curb on the inside, and that actually probably over rotates the car a little bit, because we get fantastic rotation to the point we are actually having to fight the car, which delays our, you can see we're having that final snap, and then bang on the power, so it maybe delayed our power delivery a little bit. So yeah, it's a bit of an imperfection in the lap, but again, you want to be bringing the car over to the left quickly before, yeah, because you don't want to carry in, again, these three corners all tie into each other, so you don't want to carry too much speed into the first bit so that you're running, you know, too wide into this part, and then you lose all the time all the way on the way out. And again, same principle for this corner. If you run in way too deep and you're all the way out here, it makes it very tricky to get the car back into a reasonable place in the middle of the road to, you know, get a really optimal run out of this second right hand of this complex. So yeah, full throttle, and this is just a lift. This corner will be short shift to sixth. Not quite maximizing our road there, but we're carrying so much speed, so it's like it's very hard to always get the front in at the angle that you are in that corner. So you typically don't ever fully, let's say, optimize this apex. It's more about carrying the speed through. Full power about now, using all this road in the exit, which is crucial. It's actually very easy to lose the rear because the circuit rises up right about here. So it's when you're really pushing on the limit. I have many a time lost the rear and had a snap on the exit. So, you know, one of those another thing to consider. But yeah, that's that complex done. And then heading down now to this downhill right-hander. So easy to lock up. It is a very, very, very tricky corner. So we'll try and break that one down. So heading now into the braking, you're in seventh gear, you're pulling it over the grass actually, and then the minute this curb begins, you're starting to brake. So you can even see the brake has begun now. Braking has begun, and we actually do a very good job in this corner, so that's a decent example that we have available to us. So now we're going down to fourth gear. Again, we can use third if you want, but I opted to use fourth. And then the trail braking in this corner is essential because it is formidably easy to lock up the front right, because the front right, you know, becomes, you know, we're going downhill, we're losing, you know, the track's falling away from you, so you're losing grip, and the front right becomes unloaded, so it's very easy just to lock up in the front right all the way in. But we don't do that in this lap. We actually get a very smooth run, so oh, it's actually really satisfying even just to watch back. We do have it. On this lap, it was very solid. So diving into the apex, and we even just tiny little bite of curb to help rotate the car, because all the car wants to do is understeer on the entry, in the middle of the corner, and then on the exit it still wants to understeer, but it can turn into snap oversteer. So it's a very challenging corner to get right, and you can just see how much I'm managing the brake. We're trailing it in no throttle at this point. We even reapply the brake a tiny bit once we get to the middle of the corner and start applying even more lock. We reach our peak lock now, just as we get off the brake, and then it's about smoothly getting on the power. So we reach about 60% on the power, short shifting, holding it constant to, you know, build the momentum and keep the grip stable. And then this is such a hard corner because the car will want to continue to rotate if you get it really right, or you will start pushing on the front, and then you've got it's incredibly hard to pull back from. This curb here is not one you really want to be touching because it can very easily spit you off into this wall. It's happened so many times in practice. It's very hard to perfect, but we actually bring the car over nicely. We got on the power basically as the corner ends, and then yeah, no name corner. Another big time hotspot for invalidations, as is actually, if I roll it back, this corner here, very easy to invalidate on the exit as well. But yeah, winding out on the exit, and we use a bit of entry road as well. You can be, technically speaking, you can be even more aggressive on this entry, but if you're not careful upon, let's say, disconnecting from this curb, you can drop the rear, because this again, the circuit rises. Falls. It goes downhill again. It falls away from you a bit, so it's very challenging. We use a bit of curb, and again, you can see I was momentarily holding the throttle there with a bit of brake on the entry just to keep the car a tiny bit more stable. And then this inside curb is actually really useful to help rotate the car in. So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment with using this inside curb. Not cutting, the full thing, let's say, but definitely utilising a bit of this curb to help rotate the car in is crucial. I mean, even both of these curbs, it helps open up that corner, because let's say you took a traditional no curb line, you would be making this corner very, very sharp, and it would be very tricky to avoid understeer. This way, we're opening the corner up and, getting a bit more, basically rolling a bit more weight on the rear instead of the front, so that we're not, promoting a lot of understeer. It's a very tricky corner, and it's so easy to oversteer on the exit as well. So we can see we short shift to 6th on exit. We're getting on the power now, unwinding the steering, full power, and I don't even know if I'm off the track, to be honest, but it gave us the invalidation anyway, so painful, but we move on. And again, using all the road in the exit of No Name is an invalidation spot. Very, very challenging. And yeah, this is the Esports, the Nicholas Longay line, actually, because he started doing this in F1 2021, and I remember I think it was after he done it, probably everyone else started doing it as well. But yeah, this is just, it's sort of a lazy line. We are in plenty of time able to get back over to the left, but it's kind of just a lazy line just to go a bit more straight. You're saving a fraction more distance. Is it essential to go and set a really quick lap? Not really, but that's what we did in this lap. Now, pull on, high commitment corner, and another place where invalidating on the exit is quite common if you are. It's not the hardest to avoid in this corner in terms of invalidations. There certainly are other corners on this track where it's easier to invalidate, but yeah, it's still a threat. So again, on the entry, we're up to 8th gear, utilising all of this road. You don't want to be over onto the grass way too much, because it will, create understeer and makes it very tricky. And we throw it in 8th gear. Again, utilising a bit of, we're still on the throttle a tiny bit with the brake, before peeling off the throttle at the last second, then transitioning back on. So it's just fine adjustments to try and manipulate the car in the way that we want. It's probably worth me playing these corners out in full speed, because I didn't actually play No Name out for you, so I apologise for that. I'll play that now, and then we'll talk about pull on after. So yeah, car rotating nicely on exit, using that inside curb, brutal invalidation, using the scam line, and then into pull on, down to 7th. Oh, and that was pretty nice, so we'll roll that one back. And then, yeah, so again, on entry, we're downshifting to 7th, basically as we're leaving this curb. And then we're back on the power relatively early, and then we're nearly full throttle as we're on the clipping point of the apex. Now we're full throttle now as we start to open the steering. And yeah, this curb on the inside it's tricky, because you can't, as you can see here, we do use it a little bit, and it helps us in this corner, perfectly on the limit of track limits in the exit. Using this road in the exit is just making use of the track, as if you can carry the speed in doing so. But if you go any more than this on the curb, if you go anywhere near, let's say, fully mounting this curb with the tyre and or the green curb, then it's not looking good. So yeah, we optimize that nicely, and then once you've got through that sort of middle exit, let's say, because you're still technically in the middle of the corner, but it's also like an exit in the same time, you are focusing on bringing the car nice and tight again to save some distance. And I actually run the car a little bit. I'm just running the car nice and smooth, just trying not to scrub it too much. But technically speaking, you can go really like tight along this line here because the tire scrub's not really an issue. I just ran it out nice and smooth because we're talking thousands. It's probably a little bit quicker to go tighter, but at this moment, but again, I was running it a bit smoother because I didn't want to, run it tighter and be a bit more aggressive with the, I guess the tires a bit as well, thinking of temperatures, albeit I'm technically making the corner longer here, so we're talking fine margins, and I could almost be talking complete rubbish at the moment, but it's, this is just minor details. Heading into, I think this corner's called Piff Path. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, but I think that's what it's called. Now, on this entry, we do use a bit of this curb, and this is what I use as my reference. I am braking basically as I touch this curb. We can use this curb a bit on the entry. It is quite a aggressive curb on the elevation. You can see the suspension movement as we rise on and off it, but we're going so quick at this point that we have enough grip available to do that. So basically arriving at the curb, and we really start to commit into the corner, and we're not 100% brake pressure, but a very quick peak, and then we're peeling the brake off around sort of 50% brake pressure down to 5th, and then once we start to transition onto this curb, because you need to use practically all of the curb or none. If you use, let's say, a tiny bit with just this front right of the tire, there's actually a chance you will spin, like the car will over-rotate and you'll spin, you'll spin. That's like, I can't really put it any more simply than that, I guess. So yeah, trailing in a tiny bit back on the power, nice and smoothly, holding it consistent. Dismounting the curb there in 5th gear. You can use 4th if you like, but again, we are using all of this curb, which is the optimal way to do it. If you're not going to do, you can have your wheel here as well, but you really do not want your right hand side tires just to be on this inside curb, because it's a slippery slope. You can still do it, but you're either going to get chronic understeer or a very horrible snap of oversteer. So this is the optimal way to do this corner. So it's better not to charge in with far too much speed. It's important to, because you can see the front is understeering a bit here, but we managed to trail it in nicely and get onto that curb. And then again, this corner, it's a compromised corner again, because you have this left-hander immediately following it. So if you're too far to the left, it can make it very, very tricky to continue that forward momentum on the way out with good speed through the left. And yeah, change in direction. We actually opt to short shift to 6th so that we can be quite aggressive on the power. You can hold 5th if you like, but again, comes down to preference, setup, a lot of different factors. So yeah, getting on the power, holding it, using all the road again. Car was quite compliant over that, which was nice. And then we are full power now. And yeah, I was a bit lazy here. I unwind the steering lock a bit too early here, and yeah, that's a little bit cheeky. That would probably be invalidated. It's certainly not quicker in terms of like in this lap it would maybe gain me like a small fraction for sure, but the better way to avoid it is, I think I've probably turned in a bit too early here as well, in terms of this lap. So ideally, if you are able to open up this left-hander, because we have to commit very early to this curb in order for us to make it around this corner. If you can make give yourself a better angle, you're able to avoid that problem and probably go even quicker. So yeah, that's me just giving the right context to that. So let's just play it through this section for you in full speed. All that curb, short shifting, carrying a lot of speed on the throttle. It's just pure laziness not to turn a bit more through there. Then we are coming to the final corner of sector 2, which is very hard to get right because you're using very disruptant. The curbs are very disruptant. Now we use, again, opening up the corner as much as we can, using a bit of this outside curb. We opt to go down to 4th, and we actually miss this apex. So this is a mistake from us. Now you can actually, if you can pull it off, it is really useful to do, but you can actually use this inside curb like having your tire basically up to the grass on this inside, due to the fact that that's your unloaded tire. But yeah, I prefer to, typically speaking, open this corner up from, yeah, using this curb mainly on the outside. So we're braking not 100% brake pressure on this corner, because again you'll lock up because you're balancing the grip a bit from going on and off this outside curb. Your braking point is just before this curb. We drop it down to fourth in this corner. We can technically take fifth, but I think fourth is better. You can see we pick up quite a bit of understeer in this corner, so not a great example of how to do this corner from me. But yeah, the point is you can definitely get yourself over a bit more on this inside curb, and yet you want to maximise all the road in the exit. This is the perfect amount of track use on the exit, but you can certainly do a bit of a better job by not butchering that corner completely with understeer. Stavolo now, I believe this is called, flat out through this right-hander, and then again tucking the car in nice and tight to save the distance, and then again you're just making it shortest distance possible. Through Blanchimont, I believe it's called, flat out through the left, and then we are setting ourselves up for this final chicane, which we do not do well on this lap, so I will pull up my other lap to show you guys. Actually, you know what, we'll do that now. Let's pull up my other lap to show you. I believe I had a much... No, that's not the right lap, hold on. Hang on! Technical difficulties, hang on. I have a lap here anyway, it's alright. There we go. Nope, that's not the right one. Lucas, you're mid-recording. What are you doing? Get the lap. Bingo! Right, there we go. So, the reason I wanted to get this is because this is a much better Sector 3 for you guys. So, that's, the whole point. I want to give you guys, the best possible reference I can for these laps. So, and let's see actually if I've got a better example through this corner. Yeah, a bit better. Yeah, but we actually, we're not better at all. We end up understeering off. So ignore that. Anyway, this is an ideal final chicane now. So heading into the final chicane, and yeah, we'll play it through normally first. Braking just before 100 meters, fourth gear. Car rotating beautifully, not using too much inside curb. Beautiful throttle pickup, DRS open to the line, and that is your lap. So let's run that through in slow motion. And then again, you're braking just before this 100-meter board. All your heavy braking in a straight line. Now, I think Barry even used second gear in this corner as well at times. He would go second before the entry and then upshift to third on this apex. So gears are very flexible through here. I was always in fourth gear. You can definitely use third though. I've even used third at times as well. But in this lap I used fourth and it worked out quite well. I even put the brake bias a bit forward as well. Similar to how I did in Silverstone, just to try and get the car, on the front. But again, it's all down to preference. You don't necessarily need to use the brake bias forward, but I preferred to. Heavy braking all in a straight line, starting to turn in now, and then we're unwinding on the brake. The circuit isn't completely smooth through this section, so you will notice, for example here, we turn in now and we get a lot of rotation at this point in the corner, perfectly meeting that apex as we get off the brake, still trailing past the apex on the brake, picking up the power now, a smooth bit of power, never ever reaching full throttle between these two corners, and then we get again, if you turn in too early and use this curb, odds are you're actually going to get a really bad exit. It is not easy to, I almost wouldn't even advise using this curb all the time, because it's not really a great curb for consistency. If you're able to obviously use it if you're, tight on this corner and you need to, that's your only way to do it, that's fine. It can still work, but I prefer to do the corner a bit more traditionally if you're talking about getting the best out of it. And this is a decent Sector 3 that I have here anyway that we can refer to anyhow. So, yeah. Then you're just, you don't want to get on the power too much on this curb because it's not going to give you optimal traction. So you can see smoothly getting the car straight, getting the power fully now as we open the DRS, and that is a good final sector. A better final sector. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I know this is a longer video. With it's a longer track, so there's a lot to go through, but hope you guys found this useful. Please let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are, and if you've got any, I really want to hear your feedback on these videos to see what I can do better to talk about during the lap as I'm going through it to give you guys a better idea if there's things that I've not covered that I maybe should. I'm all ears, so please leave your feedback down below. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day, folks. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. So take care, everyone. Love you all. Ciao.